Hey Alex, how are you? Thanks for joining me.
Doing great. Thanks for having me, Adam.
So, August 2023, Plotly celebrating 10 years since its foundation. What do you think? Like, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, it's been a long time. I had no idea when we started this thing that it would still be going strong after 10 years, but it really feels great, and it's amazing to look back on all that we've done in that time.
Yeah. And this is a great, like, this is what we're doing right now, looking back to all those like 10 years. I'm excited to hear all the stories from you. Because I know you're one of the founding members of Plotly, and uh, I'd love to hear more about your journey. How did everything get started?
Yeah, so uh, Jack Parmer and I um, were the original creators of Plotly. And, um, by the time we really got it off the ground, we had two other co-founders, Chris Parmer, who's Jack's brother and is still here as our chief product officer, and Matt Sundquist, who helped us launch and then moved on to other things after a couple of years. But Jack and I got it started, and we met at a solar power company. We were not software people at that point. We were both hired to do kind of physics and material science. Um, but we picked up a software project there um, because we knew we needed at that company. We knew we needed a better way to manage all of the experiments that we were doing, all of the panels that we were creating, both as part of developing the process and eventually for actual production and sale.
Mm.
And so, Jack and I both kind of gave ourselves crash courses in the web technologies and database technologies we would need to do this, and built something that at that company was super successful. Right. I knew that it was a success when I was doing an experiment in the lab, something about the furnace conditions. That was my real main job there, was managing the high temperature semiconductor processes that we had. And I came out into the office, and my boss was already telling me about the results of my experiment.
Wow.
He was,
Because of what you built.
yeah, exactly. He was able to uh, look into the database and analyze things, and we had graphs to help him do that, and different views that allowed him to pull together and see what everybody at the company was doing.
Right.
Uh, and so at that point I knew that it was a real success, and and then both Jack and I saw the potential for this beyond the company that we were working at, and started to go out to companies that friends of ours were in,
Mhm.
mostly other small energy focused startups,
Okay.
um, and building and selling kind of custom one off versions of the same thing to them.
And what did they say about it?
They really liked it. I know that there were some in battery technology and some in
Mm.
other sorts of energy technologies, and yeah, they all really got some great value out of it. So what we realized at that point, um, and this was also about the same time that the company that we were at was winding down its panel manufacturing. Nothing to do with the technology. It was just kind of the market conditions in solar changed
Hmm.
dramatically around then. Um, so we were thinking about what to do next, and we realized that some of these ideas were much broader, and we should start a company around them.
Okay. Well, that's exciting. Like starting a company, you make it sound like so easy. What did that look like?
Well, yeah, we really started around the idea that there are a lot of people who are uh, not professional software developers, but they have data and they know enough coding to be able to work with their data.
Mm.
So, what kind of tools can we make that will make those people more powerful, more able to share their data in all of its complexity with the people around them who also care about it.
Right. Okay. And so what did that mean? Like, what did you have to do?
So what we really wanted to make was an environment where people could connect to their data and analyze it and have real full flexibility in what they do with it and how they present it to people. Um, so our first thought about how this should work was kind of drawing on tools that existed in the past, but uh, needed an updating for the more collaborative
Hmm.
world of the modern internet. And so one of the taglines we were thinking about and using to organize our thoughts was MATLAB on the web. Right. So MATLAB
Wow.
is a data analysis environment. It's very rich. It's been around for ages and ages. But we wanted to make something that was more collaborative,
Hmm.
and the key piece of that is to make it from the ground up on the web and fully interactive.
And what was the name that you gave that?
Well, so it started out as just Plotly. We came up with the
Okay.
name
Okay.
because we knew it was going to heavily feature graphs and plots and charts and such, and
Uh-huh.
so we called it Plotly. Um, and the first thing we created was what now is called Chart Studio, um, and that was kind of our first big product. Originally, it was just a single website, plot.ly, and and that hosted a place that people could upload their data, and we built a graphing library into that website. And at the time, what we built was one of the most interactive, but still visually high quality graphing libraries out there. So we built it from the ground up, primarily with SVG, uh,
Okay.
which is a, a graphics format, a vector graphics format, and that was important to us because the output of that is full publication quality. If you want to put this into an academic paper to be published as a PDF or in print, if you want it to blow it up and put it on a poster, um,
Okay.
it'll work just as well as it works on the web. So we built this graphing library uh, that eventually became called Plotly.js.
Okay.
But at first, it was just built into the website. It was an integral part of the website. We knew though that we wanted people to be able to uh, upload their data sets from whatever programming language they're comfortable working in.
Right.
So the most popular one, and the one that we had both picked up as part of our work at this solar company, is Python. Um, but we knew that we wanted it to be flexible enough to handle output from R, from MATLAB, from various other languages as well. And so we built really early on. We built clients for all of those languages that could send data to our website. And so in order to do that, we built our graphing library around a JSON specification so that it would be easy to push up data that the graphing library would understand. Um, but at first, it was just that you would send your data up to our website, and you'd get back a URL where you could see the graph that it made.
Now I know that Plotly.js is one of the most popular data visualization or graphing libraries in the world, downloaded millions of times. What? Why do you think it became so popular? What happened on our end that made it so popular?
So I think it was a couple of things that made Plotly.js popular. One is that we, like I said, designed it to be really visually high quality from the beginning. Another is that we made a commitment to continue adding, you know, essentially every feature that people wanted to it. Every kind of graph, from financial types to heavy engineering types to things used by pharmaceuticals
Mm-hmm.
and biostatistics, right? Pretty much every kind of graph that you might want to make, we consider to be in scope, and we kept going. Every time people wanted a new feature, we basically said yes, and we'll build that and we'll add that in. Um, so that made it really a go-to library for people because they know that uh, they can use it to make all their charts, not just some of them. Um, and then
Right.
there's the fact that, like I said, it started out for the first couple of years as part of our website, but we pretty quickly realized that tying it just to our website was a big limitation. So
Mm.
uh, in 2015, we open sourced the whole thing. You get full power for free. You don't have to connect it to a Plotly account or to the Plotly website. You can use it anywhere.
Okay, so Plotly.js is becoming super popular, open source, everybody's using it, and then the years pass by, and suddenly a new product comes by. How did that look like?
Right. So Chart Studio was evolving, and people were using it in lots of different fields. Some of people were using it for publishing. There were some newspapers that were publishing graphs with Plotly Chart Studio. There were a lot of people using it for school projects,
Oh,
all the way down to middle school,
oh
which we
wow.
thought was really fun. Um, but we realized that the things that people wanted to do with their data were more complex and more interconnected than just a single chart, right?
Mm.
So as interactive as our charts are, you can zoom and pan and turn pieces of it on and off. Um, People really want to be able to connect up different charts to each other and bring in new data,
Right.
connect it to bigger data sets and such. And we started building some little pieces of that into Chart Studio itself. So we made the ability to create a dashboard that would combine several charts together and
Mm.
maybe even connect them up so that if you select a point in one of the graphs, it would figure out which points corresponded to that and select them in the other graph as well.
Yeah.
Um, but but it became clear to us that this was going to hit a limit where uh, getting more and more power became increasingly difficult. And so we
Right.
started exploring other things that we could do. Um, and we realized that what people ultimately would want is a way to make a whole web application uh, that exposes their data and lets people explore it in much richer ways than just a single data set inside of a chart. And so uh, it was that realization that led us to the creation of Dash. Um, and that was primarily prototyped by Chris, working in conjunction with some contractors who were uh, more familiar with some of the uh, cutting edge web technologies that we wanted to be able to use for that purpose. Um, and so, but that started to take off really quickly. You know, we um, released Dash as an open source package from the very beginning. And it started to get a lot of interest from the Python community because there was really nothing else like it out there. Um, Now that's become a bit of a category. There are a number of other packages
Yeah.
that do similar things. But I think Dash is the one that kickstarted that category.
Yeah.
Um,
At the time, it was unique. It was like the first. I remember discovering it in 2018 or the end of 18, and it was like, oh wow, I haven't seen anything like that. I really need to use this. It's really helpful for my projects, like you said, to build a dashboard, to build an interactive web app, and all in
yeah.
Python. And so, how did that? Dash becomes really popular. How did that change? Did that change your role in any way, and or your responsibilities?
Yeah, it definitely did. I mean, it changed the whole company in many ways, right? At the beginning, like I said, Dash was just an open source uh, project that we put out into the world. Um, and while Chris was kind of nurturing that through its embryonic stages, I was still focused on the graphing libraries and continuing, like I said, to add every feature that people wanted to them. And I still manage that project to up to today. But uh, pretty soon, once Dash really started to take hold, then I jumped in there as well uh, to continue expanding that functionality. And I'd say one of the first things that I did when I started working in Dash was think back to the work that I had done at the solar company and the other companies that I built custom projects for, and thought, what would it take to be able to redo all of that in Dash? What features were
Mm.
missing? Um, and a lot of what we had there was already possible in Dash, and I could have imagined, what took me hundreds of hours of work previously would have been cut down to, tens of hours, if even that, with Dash. But there were a few things that were missing. So that's what led, for example, to pattern matching callbacks.
Right.
I realized that in some of those other projects, there were repeated elements that needed to expand according to the underlying data, and not just to a fixed amount. And so that's what led me to design pattern matching callbacks. And there are a number of other of the kind of power user features of Dash that came out of that effort of mine.
And did that in any way, um, how Plotly developed as a company and products developed, did that in any way change your original vision, or is it still the same?
In a sense, it refocused us back towards the original vision, of a more general purpose analytics framework that people could use with their own custom analysis code.
Hmm.
Um, right. What we had previously with Chart Studio was a way that you could share charts, um, but it was kind of uh, divorced from the analytics that you had done. Right. You do your analysis on your own machine locally, and then once you send your data up to the Chart Studio cloud, you're done with that.
Right.
Whereas with Dash, it's still interactive, it's still alive, it's still responding to new data coming in, and it's responding to how your viewers want to work with the data and explore it, maybe in ways that you never, as the original data owner, could have anticipated. Um, and so yeah, I think of it as actually bringing us back to the vision that we had at the beginning that had narrowed down into this product, Chart Studio. And so once we had that concept going, um, then we started to think about, well, what would make this particularly valuable to companies so that we would have a commercial product that we can sell. And that led to the development of Dash Enterprise as a way to package up not only the hosting and authentication pieces of it, right, in a platform that's easier for data scientists to use without too much involvement from their IT departments, and then the high power components of Dash Design Kit, Dashboard Engine, all of these extra things that we have added on over the years since then.
And it's pretty amazing. I mean, I'm, as you know, the community manager for the open source at Plotly and Dash. But I hear very good things about Dash Enterprise and our customers and how it really benefits their company. So it's pretty exciting what we've built with Dash Enterprise.
Yeah, it is. No, that's one of the things that I'm really most proud of at Plotly, right? Is that we're able to do something that really impacts a lot of different people and makes them more productive and allows people to collaborate with each other a lot better. And, like you said, we hear great things from our customers about it, from those people using Dash Enterprise. But it's also really gratifying to know that people in the community who, are either working in academia or are just hobbyists or interested people out in the community who probably would never be able to pay us for these things, but they're still able to use our work through the open source Dash ecosystem, and they're able to do some really amazing things with it.
Yeah, I hear a lot of those stories on open source. Like, thank you for open source Dash. Help me get through my thesis. Help me with my PhD. Help me with my side project at home or proof of concept at my company. I have somebody in Czech Republic using it for their bank account, for actually their bank where they're working, not bank account, but their actual bank. So it's pretty powerful. So I can only imagine how much more powerful Dash Enterprise is and how useful it is for these big companies. So long journey from 2013. We're going through like different adaptations and different products. Your role and responsibilities have changed. What, now that we're in August 2023, what's next? How do you envision the future? What's to come?
Yeah, I mean, I think with Dash and Dash Enterprise, the company has really settled on something that has a lot of potential and it has a lot of room to grow. So the question now is, number one, how far can we push this original vision into, anyone with a set of data and some ideas for how they might want to explore that data. What can they build, right? How far can we go with that? And then the second question is, how much can we improve the experience for people who are, particularly people who are new to Dash, and how much can we lower the barrier to entry? Because really the idea is that there's so much data out there. There's only going to be more and more, and but we want to let as many people as possible make use of their data without having to become really advanced software developers.
Well, pretty exciting future for Plotly and Dash. Thank you, Alex. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for sharing your personal journey with us and the growth of Plotly over the years.
My pleasure, Adam. Can't wait to see what the next 10 years has in store for us.
Likewise. Thanks, Alex.